like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
Seoul shimmered beneath the autumn dusk like a living constellation, a city breathed into existence by light and heartbeat. Neon flickers danced across glass towers, the faint perfume of rain still lingering from the afternoon drizzle, and somewhere in the air, the invisible electricity of anticipation began to crystallize. Gangnam, on nights like this, did not simply exist, it performed. The red carpet outside the Cheongdam Theater was a river of reflected light, polished to liquid. Fans gathered shoulder to shoulder, their breath forming pale ribbons in the cooling air, camera lenses like constellations waiting to awaken. Journalists huddled along the barricades, whispers passing through them like sparks through a fuse. At the center of it all, the premiere of Wonderful World, led by the ever-elegant Eunwoo. But by the time the third black sedan arrived, a second name had already overtaken the night. A name not announced, merely felt. Jeon Jungkook. He had not appeared publicly in weeks. No airport sightings, no event cameos, no live broadcasts. His silence had only sharpened the hunger. And now, the very idea of him appearing here, for Eunwoo, turned the atmosphere into something volatile, electric, almost mythic. Then it happened. A deep black car rolled in, unhurried. The crowd went silent before it even fully stopped. The door opened. Jungkook stepped out like a note struck so softly it still rearranged the room, dressed in Saint Laurent, immaculate, unembellished, devastating. A tailored onyx suit, the kind that concealed and revealed in equal measure. The satin of his shirt caught the flash of cameras with the restraint of moonlight, undone just enough to whisper, not declare. His hair, effortlessly tousled, framed his eyes in a way that felt both unguarded and cinematic, as if Seoul itself had conjured him from memory. He didn't wave. He didn't need to. The cameras, all of them, simply turned. And the city, for a heartbeat, forgot how to breathe. This was not spectacle. It was documentation. Reporters adjusted recorders. Camera operators realigned their frames. The shift in atmosphere was immediate, not frenzied, but focused. Professionals recognized presence when they saw it. Jeon Jungkook walked the carpet not as a performer, but as a man with purpose. His pace was measured, not staged. He paused only when required, brief, direct acknowledgments to the press line, the respectful half-bow that had become instinct rather than formality. No theatrics. No exaggerated gestures. Yet every movement appeared precise, as if inherently aware of spatial composition. Moments later, Eunwoo arrived. White against black. A carefully tailored contrast. The visual symmetry was impossible to ignore, not coordinated, but cinematic by accident. Eunwoo's expression, trained yet warm, shifted visibly when he caught Jungkook's presence. A small nod. A half-second smile. An unspoken familiarity. Two public figures, but the air between them moved like longtime colleagues, not co-stars in a media spectacle. A local correspondent from the Korea Herald, positioned front left of the press pit, was overheard remarking quietly to her assistant, "He's not performing for us. He's simply existing," and the room adjusts. It was not intended as flattery. It was observation. When the joint photos began, the cameras did not shout. They stabilized, timing themselves to the stillness. From the press vantage point, what stood out immediately was discipline. There was no entourage-enforced theatrics, no choreography meant to manipulate headlines. Jungkook's interaction with the environment remained measured, acknowledging the press without feeding spectacle, maintaining poise without constructing distance. This balance, often attempted but rarely mastered in the entertainment industry, was precisely what drew extended attention from fellow media personnel. It was noted by more than one outlet that he arrived without the excessive security buffer typically seen with global figures of his stature. Two silent staff members remained several paces behind, visible, functional, but not obstructive. This alone signaled controlled confidence. A statement louder than fan service. Inside the theater, seating arrangements placed Jungkook among confirmed VIP attendees, senior actors, film executives, select cultural figures. No cameras followed him beyond the designated press corridor, yet awareness of his presence lingered in the room. Conversations among journalists shifted from coverage of the film to the broader significance of this attendance. It was not merely celebrity support. It was signal recognition. In industry terms, an appearance of this nature, silent, unannounced, uncommercial, carries strategic weight. It is not promotional. It is respect. As lights dimmed and Wonderful World began, Jungkook's demeanor remained composed. Observers positioned within visual distance noted his attention did not drift. No discreet phone checking, no whispered exchanges. He watched the film in full, and when it concluded, he was among the first to initiate applause. Not exaggerated. Exact. Professional. A senior fashion correspondent seated 3 rows behind later remarked off-record, "The restraint is what stands out. It's rare to see presence without intention to dominate. That is why it becomes impossible to ignore." Following the conclusion of the premiere, access to post-screening movements was limited to authorized media and invited personnel only. Nonetheless, the transition from theater to private reception in Cheongdam was executed with the same degree of precision observed throughout the evening. The after-event venue, a controlled, members-only setting, was not intended for public-facing coverage. Yet within minutes, indirect reports began appearing through industry-adjacent sources, fashion insiders, executives, culture critics. Not tabloid chatter, professional observation. Jungkook was seen in quiet discussion with Eunwoo shortly after arrival. No staged photo moments. No orchestrated lighting. Interaction remained grounded, 2 individuals in conversation rather than 2 public figures in performance. Those present described the atmosphere as one of earned recognition rather than spectacle. A senior editor from a European fashion bureau, present as an observer rather than participant, noted, "There is a misconception that silence equals avoidance. In cases like this, silence is precision. He knows exactly when not to create narrative, and that is what creates narrative." By early morning, coverage across global media reflected a consistent theme: tone stable, restrained, and almost universally respectful. Not sensational. Analytical. Major fashion outlets led with aesthetic analysis. Cultural columns emphasized presence as communication. Industry commentary pointed to relational significance, the strategic language of respect within top-tier circles. No statement was made by Jungkook or his representatives. None was required. Impact had already occurred. International coverage that followed within the next 12 hours did not sensationalize the appearance, it contextualized it. Major outlets across the US, Europe, and Southeast Asia adopted a notably consistent framework. Jungkook's presence was reported not as fan-driven virality, but as cultural positioning. Articles did not open with decibel levels from screaming crowds. They opened with vocabulary normally reserved for figures whose influence transcends genre: diplomacy, cultural capital, symbolic alignment. Rolling Stone's Asia Bureau referred to his attendance as a quiet reaffirmation of South Korea's most influential cultural crosscurrents: music, film, and fashion intersecting without spectacle. Times Global Entertainment Desk emphasized the growing normalization of Jungkook's appearances not as K-pop idol participation, but as cultural presence with sovereign agency. GQ Italy, in its digital morning briefing, used a term that would later be echoed across multiple European outlets: unobtrusive dominance. None of it was accidental. None of it required explanation from him. Within Korean media, tone alignment was equally precise. Dispatch, typically known for its unpredictably sharp editorial approach, chose restraint. The Korea Herald and JTBC analyzed it as a signal of inter-tier industry respect. Korea described the evening as an unscripted convergence of 2 globally recognized figures moving with the maturity of their present careers, not their past trajectories. The key takeaway shared by nearly all coverage: his appearance did not expand his influence. It confirmed it.